Peace and blessings, family. Peace and blessings. Listen, guys, I'm coming in with a quick cultural competence conversation for a couple of folks who have requested. So give me a hot minute to go ahead and bring some folks on in here. And also, we're actually doing this session as a request for someone who will remain nameless at the moment. If she decides to reveal herself, that will be her own accord. So peace and blessings, family, and thank you all for coming in. I'm Nefra Tumati, Minister of Women and Development, Pan-African Transformational Culture, Sacred Sister, and Practitioner and Priestess of the Kemetic Spiritual Systems. So I hope everybody is doing well. Hope everybody's family is doing well. Hope that we are fortified, that we continue to fortify ourselves, and that we are thriving through these circumstances of this COVID experience, etc. And I'm really leveraging this experience to be with our family, friends, reconnect, build out our talents, our skills, do some introspection, and just release the strain and stress. I often talk to our family as a cultural experience that there should be something very distinctly different about the African than it is about anyone else in the space. I know a lot of people have different spiritual systems. They have different ways in which they choose to engage the world. As a solution-based thinker and as a conduit for this forging through this spaces that it's just a random space that some of us engage with inside of this cultural experience that is unnatural to African frequency vibration, and it's not really cultivating an African spirit or a strong personal identity within the collective by virtue of the proofs that we have in our space. The proofs that we have in our space demonstrate that the systems that we have been using has not actually been supporting us. That's not my opinion. It's basically, we can all see it. We can look out into the world and we can see what we are working with. So I wanted to have a quick cultural competence session. It's what I call them. And the reason being is because it's built out of learning and development. Cultural competence, competence in the skill that we have. If we don't have competence in a certain skill that we are trying to create a certain outcome, then we want to brush up on it. We want to make an assessment. We want to improve on it. We want to get rid of what's not working. And then we want to have the opportunity to move forward with a new set of skills. So share the link, join the conversation, ask real-time, real-life questions, and we can go ahead and build it out. So give me a quick second. Shout out my girl. How are you guys hearing me? How's the sound? Are we clear? Are there any distortions? How's the visual? We're doing good? Peace and blessings. Thank you so much. Got it. So thank you guys for coming in. And today's discussion is really about how do we survive attacks? How do we survive attacks? Attacks, we're looking at physical attacks. We're not often looking at these attacks as spiritual attacks. How else do you... Sexy goodness, look at you. I love you. Peace and blessings. Thank you for coming in, my beloved. Family, join the conversation. We're talking about the cultural competence session today is regarding our spiritual ability to level up through the attacks that we experience in life. I don't know how some people assess the circumstances that are facing them within this cultural situation that we are all sharing as Africans across the diaspora, and also as human beings across this human landscape that are not producing the residuals of harmony, love, peace, connection, abundance, the space that we currently live in, and the tools and many of the mechanisms that we are currently engaging in are not creating that residual to the magnitude that is impacting change on the ground. On the ground, meaning as social creatures, we are in relationship to one another. We live our living experiences through the richness or lack thereof of the physical contact and manifestation of our living experience. So I have a sister who she says to me that she's been attacked by a woman and she's on her spiritual journey. And I'm here to tell you that I've been physically attacked more than once throughout my life. And you could say, hey, we just had a fight, or it was just a situation. But it really wasn't just a situation. And if we live our lives, peace and blessings, my sister. Thank you for coming in. Please share the link. Please join individuals to the conversation. We get to level up on our personal being, because as personal responsibility, we get to be responsible for our own knowing, our own behavior, and be responsible for the contributions that we put into the earth's landscape. That's just where I'm at with that, right? We get to be responsible for what we do, what we put into the earth space, right? People will do things and circumstances will be presented to us, but we are actually responsible for keeping our sin cup. Little baby girl in Bernie Mac's show back in, I don't know, it just warmed my heart. She said, I want to keep my sin cup clean. My aunt says, may your heart be as light as a feather. Can you make your heart light as a feather? So there you have it. So if your heart is as light as a feather, you can have yourself be responsible for not weighing your heart and not putting anything that is negative or non-productive into the earth's landscape. So how to transmute the experience of being physically attacked. Take that pain and make it actionable and applicable to the one leveling up. Now, how do you do that? Throughout this journey, I don't know, for those, I've had many mechanisms that have allowed me to engage in my personal elevation. I looked into space. I had a Christian walk. I was raised Southern Baptist. I went into Pentecostal church. I was in Hebrew Israelite community. I was studying Islam for about 3 years. I lived in the Israelite community in Atlanta for a couple of years. And I've been a practicing Buddhist, and I studied Yoruba priesthood for about 4 years. So there are many pieces of the puzzle, and the reason why we need these pieces of the puzzle. Thank you so much, Brother Wayne. I appreciate you for sharing the link. Please click the share button, share the link, invite folks to the conversation, because we have to fortify. We get to fortify ourselves and each other. So I basically utilize these mechanisms. Thank you so much. Heart it up out there, family. Sending you all peace and blessings and love and abundant protection in these circumstances. So I basically utilize these various mechanisms because as a solution-based thinker, I'm looking at a circumstance. I'm looking at something that's happening right here, and I need to have actions that can fix this circumstance. So, and also understanding that you as an individual, we often function within our physical space in the physical world. We don't function, and it's not a part of this social, cultural context to put a whole lot of weight into anything that is esoteric, spiritual, higher frequency. There's a lot of different conversations in the space that kind of mangles up that information, and it's not a clean, straight line. So, I'm going to always be responsible for what I put into the universe, and I'm going to always set you up to win. What you do with that information, it's up to you. But I'm giving you from a perspective of a straight line. The journey between 2 points, closest distance, is a straight line. A to B, done. No convoluted, no messy, no confusion, just straight information, straight steps, implement, and get your actions on the flip side of that. So I'm taking this information from these various spaces, and one of them was a Christian Bible, and it says such that the Spirit asked Jesus being the mechanism that was creating that space as a conduit to bring forward what the circumstance was, because he was a utility, as I try to explain. He said the pig said, "Don't cast us out." So the spirits, these negative forces, these demonic spirits, the way it's being presented in the Bible, said, "Don't cast us out. Just cast us into the pigs." Right? So these spirits that we are not consciously aware of within our social landscape, because there's not any weight put into that space within our social landscape, we don't necessarily know how to interact with it. And when we see it, we call it something else. We interact with it differently. It looks like something else. Or we try to categorize it based on what we already know. And if we don't have access to the type of knowing that would allow us to articulate what we have seen, we will then be in a clusterfuck. So what we don't want to do, thank you so much, sis. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, beloved. Hearted up out there in cyberspace. Connect. Neferatu Matira. And we're talking about utilizing being attacked by this physical space to utilize that to churn our spiritual frequency so that we get to utilize and transmute that experience and allow it to mechanize us so that we begin to level up. So the sister says she was attacked. The last time I was attacked, now I've been physically attacked many times. I've actually recently told the story of when I was 14 and I was attacked by 5 guys in the elevator in the projects just because they were hollering at me. Now I can look at that as a physical experience, and at the time of 14, with my ignorance, I did look at it as a physical experience. But as I grew older and I was attacked other times throughout the course of my life, I realized that what happened some of those times was as a result of my experience. Either not looking at the experience from a spiritual perspective or not employing my knowing to the situation. The last time I was attacked by family 3 times, and it was venomous. It was heinous. It was venomous. It required a real type of self-control that so many of us forego self-control because we haven't implemented how to apply self-control. What does self-control mean? What does having self-restraint, what does that have to do? How do we mechanize self-restraint and discipline, self-discipline? Also having my Buddhist walk and my Israelite walk and Islam and Pentecostal walk. These are very strict types of tenets. The lifestyles, the rules, the regulations are very strict in terms of your behavior and what you should eat and how you should be in a community of people and what the expectation of you in that community is. So learning to self-discipline was something that came into my space as a result of those experiences. Now, did I always mechanize it? Because I had this information for some time. I just had not been able to mechanize it, meaning make it something that I can apply to a formula, that I can apply to a circumstance to create an immediate outcome. I simply had information. And so many of us just have information. And it's rhetoric-y, and it's, regurgitated information. Thank you so much, sis. And we just spit out these things. Spirituality has no particular label. It is a space that you enter that allows you access to elevating your own personal frequency so that you are responsible with making sure that your heart is as light as a feather, so that you get to create an empty sin cup, right? So that you get to balance out the scales of ma'at. You didn't take more than you gave. You didn't give more than you took. You created balance in the world space. So utilizing these various experiences that we are having in this physical realm to level up our spiritual acuity. Some said diamonds are made through pressure, heat, and circumstance. I'd say this: I was tempered through time and circumstance. It requires some work. So in order to exercise your spiritual acuity, you have to go through physical experiences. So I've gone through some major, like really big types of circumstances that have forged me through to come through to be in this space today. But that's the only way to practice. You don't get guns by just sitting there like, I'm going to go ahead and drink this beer. This is actually water. But, I'm going to drink this beer, y'all. And you actually have to do some work in order to build up your resistance. So looking at being physically attacked and employing personal restraint and looking at this experiences and still offering someone grace and also being aware of what you as an individual are putting into the earth space as your reaction. Because you may not necessarily be responsible for what somebody else is doing, but you are definitely responsible for what you are doing. So if you are not maintaining your control and you're not acting out of righteousness, because some people say folks don't like to hear those kind of words. They don't like to hear righteousness. They don't like to hear obedience. They don't like to hear restraint. These are things that kind of like get people a little bit like uncomfortable, because the immediate association with discipline is I'm losing something. See, when you have self-discipline, you actually gain so much. There's so much to gain by having self-restraint and by being able to choose a right path and by being able to see through your usha. It's up to you how you want to be in the earth space and how you want to mechanize these various pieces, because they're just pieces. Like trees don't have religions. Like grass don't have a religion. They don't go to church on Sunday. They don't pray. Like, that's just not how that functions. And I'm trying to impart upon our people that you are a mechanism. And all of these pieces around you, you are an organism, excuse me, and the pieces around you are mechanisms to help enhance your quality of life. So many of us have never achieved the quality of life because we're more concerned with getting cars and a house and moving into the zip codes and different things like that that impede our spiritual evolution and development. So this COVID circumstance is definitely an opportunity for us to do a lot of introspection. This is a cultural competence session that we utilize to level up ourselves and our spiritual context and be able to forge that energy and mechanize it so that we get to be the difference that is different in a daily practice. Being the difference that is different in a daily practice, not just in speak and action, but in vibration. Because you can enter a room before you even speak. You can enter a space before you utter a word. You can impart love and affection without even saying a word, right? And this comes with a process of churning and learning and going through circumstances, self-discipline and becoming and applying and living and testing it out and being in the difference and being in the space and taking the risk, because all of these things are physical. Like the Bible would say flesh. We caught up in our flesh. He who loves his flesh will lose it. If you're so attached to this physical space, and you have all these masters out here, you worship in the bag and all of these different things, he who loves his life will lose it. You only gain your life by giving it up. By giving up. And it has nothing to do with poverty. There is no connection in that, because money, exchange, all of those things are not in the spiritual space. None of those things exist in the spiritual realm. They have the meaning we have given them. If we're functioning constantly in a physical space, which this social context ensures that we stay steeped in a physical manifestation of just the piddling around and the puddling, right? It is constantly layered to continue to do that. If you don't understand white supremacy, how it works and what it is, everything else you think you know will only confuse you. So we get to attack these things in a way that allows us to be our cultural best selves, our spiritual best selves, and level up our energy so that we get to impact the world, because leaders replace themselves. Being the difference that's different is a daily practice where you can make fishermen of men. You can give a man a meal today, he can eat today, but if you see him a year, if he's still hungry, what now? You won't leave me hungry. You will have been fed, and in these cultural competence exchanges, you now have mechanisms that you get to employ and impart into your personal life and enact them immediately to immediately receive residuals. But it's also a choice. It's free will. You get to choose how you want to choose. You get to do with it what you choose to do with it. My hope is that you use it, you cut through your foolishness like a slice of butter. Whatever that physical space is, I hope you cut right through it and you just go straight to the bags. Straight to your next level, not the physical bags. Right? The achievement, the bag has to represent an achievement. The achievement of leveling up the places that matter. Like becoming the difference that is different in your communities and spaces, so that we can heal our earth's landscape, so that we heal one another, so that we connect with each other as a contributing member of our cohabitating space, this being the earth. Big deal, right? That sounds like some big stuff. Family, if we participate, is possible. It's very possible. Because war and madness wasn't always the order of the day. It actually wasn't. It has what we have become and made normal. We have normalized all of these things. We've normalized insanity, right? So listen, let's give up the insanity, family. So peace and blessings for all you have come in. I appreciate you from receiving from me. It matters. And I hope that this is somehow ministered to you in your soul and giving you something to have access to and also to share in your space and place and apply to your personal life. And I'm telling you, you will be convicted by this work. This is not a game. You will come out, they say, come out white as snow. It's so possible. It's so possible to go through the churn and come out on the other side like, bling. I couldn't tell you what I heard. I'm only telling you what I know. So peace and blessings from my heart to yours. Sawubona. I see you, and namaste. The divine in me honors and respects the divine in you. Peace and blessings, African. May the ancestors bless you, keep you, and guide you, and continue to inspire you. Peace.